This is the Fountaine Pajot MY40, and from the outside it looks like a scaled down MY44, which is no bad thing because that boat was awarded one of our Motorboat of the Year awards. Now on board, this boat has got 3 cabins, including a pretty spectacular owner's cabin, more of which later. And in the engine room, it's IPS only. IPS 400 with 300 horsepower per side, or IPS 500 with 370 horsepower per side, and prices start from just over €550,000 excluding VAT. Now this particular boat has got the largest of the 2 engine options, IPS 500, so you have 370 horsepower per side, really well suited to the boat, and the way it performs is great actually. The top speed is 22 knots and you can cruise all day at 18, that's really the most comfortable cruising speed, but of course you can slow right down to single digits, boost the range, and that's when these cats feel really comfortable as well. It's a nice thing, you have a big wide cruising band. It's very quiet as well. You know, each engine is in its own hull, it's really well insulated, so noise is suppressed really well. You can easily converse with other people in the saloon. In terms of handling, well, you have the lightness of IPS, of course, the steering is super light, but then it turns in the typical way of a catamaran, so it's very, very flat, tabletop flat, but actually even though it doesn't lean at all, when you really dial in some wheel, it turns around nice quickly, and actually the turning circle is really quite tight. It's benign conditions today, so we haven't really been able to test the seakeeping, but anything we have come across, those 2 very narrow hulls just slides right through it. Very, very comfortable indeed. And I like the driving position as well. You can bolster, as you can see, you can sit, you can 2 people here, and the sight lines are very, very good as well, all round actually. Very few blind spots driving from down here at the lower helm. The dashboard itself is actually incredibly sparse, with all your information contained in these 2 screens. Your Garmin GPS map here for nav, and actually you get engine information through there as well, but then your Volvo Penta software has all of your detailed engine information. Slightly strange that the actual hard buttons, horn, wash and windscreen wiper, are up here and not down here next to the fan button, and you only have 1 windscreen wiper, which is a bit too small for the screen. No wiper on this side, so if you're taking some waves over the port bow there and there's spray hitting that screen, you're going to struggle to clear that, which will be frustrating. So really they could do with adding another wiper. Now the helm up here on the flybridge is just as clean as the one downstairs. You have pretty much exactly the same setup. Ergonomics are pretty good, everything's nice and close together, you can reach everything easily. Obviously there's only a single helm seat, so you're up here on your own a little bit, but actually for the helmsman it's pretty good. I've got to say, for someone as generously proportioned as myself, this helm seat is a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit tight on the hips. But again, the view is good, there's reasonable protection because there's a nice deep windscreen and you're quite close to it. And again, from here, if you're berthing, this is the place to be because you can pretty much see all corners of the boat from up here. What I found is that this boat sits really nicely at a 19-20 knot fast cruising speed, and it's an easy boat to drive at that speed as well because it tracks so straight. You don't have to worry about playing with the wheel, it's just solid in the water given it's very calm today. But it really does just get on with it and you don't have to worry about making tiny little adjustments. And I think if you had the smaller engines, if you had those twin 300s, then 19-20 knots would probably be more like your top speed, not your cruising speed. And for that reason, even though there's a €20,000 difference, that's why I would choose the larger engine option. Of course, the first thing you notice in this cockpit is the beam that's just shy of 20 feet. So this feels absolutely enormous, this space, and given the fact there's no table fitted to this one, it feels even bigger. There is the option to have a fixed table, of course. You can have a collapsible one that you can take up and down, but there's loads of space to walk around in. That also pushes up onto the side decks, which we'll look at in a minute. Storage is also really good, so you have this locker underneath my feet here, which is dedicated for the life raft. There's storage underneath the seats here, and then, of course, the engines have a hull to themselves, so you've got your IPS 500 down here swimming in masses of space, loads of light down there as well, really easy area to work on. The insulation is good as well, everything's really neatly labelled, pipes and wires. You've got Raycor fuel filters here with clear bowls so you can easily check the fuel, and it's all lined in a nice white finish so you can easily spot leaks. Now onto those side decks, yes, they are brilliantly wide. 2 people can pass each other no problem here, but because they're so wide, these rails are quite a long way away from you and quite low, so they're a bit of a stretch. What would be nice as well is to have a rail running all the way down here. It's prime area for it, so hopefully that's something that they can organise quite easily. And then when you do find your way to the bow, you're met by yet another really good socialising space. As it is now catching the evening sun, it's a really nice place to sit with a bit of privacy here at the bow. You can also put a table in there if you'd like, and then it's practical too, because underneath that there is a vast storage locker which is big enough to swallow all of the boat's fenders. You've got your anchor chain in here, access the windlass as well, and there's an anchor in here, there's all sorts. It's a massive, really useful storage space. Now, because the boat is so wide, you get this really nice big wide staircase as well, so it feels very safe to make your way up here onto the top deck, which again takes advantage of that beam. It's a really nice big space. Seating is set a little bit low. That's also something that was an issue on the MY44, but actually it's quite comfortable. You have sunbathing space forward, and actually you have some areas that flip up so that two people can sit facing forward alongside the helm, and there is also the option to have a bench at the helm as opposed to the single seat. The hardtop's an option. If you don't have that, you have a single radar mast here at the stern, but everybody's going to choose to have this, especially as you get a sunroof built in as standard. Moving on to the saloon, the doors are quite clever because these detach from this side, slide all the way over this side, so then your galley is completely open to the cockpit. Aft galley layout, obviously good and sociable, not too far away from the dinette, which is amidships. These are a little bit nasty though. There's some quite hard corners in this interior, especially on this coin top. It would hurt if you caught your hips on those, but actually the corners on the table are rounded, which is a bit better. Upper step here, the dinette is a really good size actually, very comfortable. Seat bases are a decent length, and it's a place to sit comfortably for a long while, and you've got a good view out as well. Obviously you can keep the helmsman company if you're driving from down here, and then this stairway leads to the guest accommodation. Now, in the starboard hull is where you find the guest accommodation. One thing to watch out for is I'm 6 foot and these door frames are a little bit low, so you might have to duck your head, but once you're inside, the space increases to a good amount, and it's a really nice cabin. Now, this cabin is the same whatever layout you have, it's always a double, and it's a really nice cabin. Bed's a good size, set nice and low. There's natural light from the big window here. You've got a hanging wardrobe in here. There's even more big cupboard storage in the hallway. Now, forward, there's the option to either have the bunks that this boat has got, or you can have another double there, and they share this bathroom here, which is a really good size, and it's got its own separate shower cubicle. Now, we've saved the best till last here, because just look at the size of this owner's cabin in the port hull. Not only got this huge sleeping area here with the island berth and nice big window, but it just goes on and on and on. You've got a bathroom that is separate from its own toilet cubicle. There's an open walk-in shower, which is really luxurious, loads of headroom, proper separate sink, storage absolutely everywhere, not only in the cabin itself, but in the hallway here. There's loads of space. There's a couple of flies in the ointment. You only have electric sockets on one side of the bed, and actually you can't sit up in bed and read because this is too low, but really they're small complaints in what is one of the best cabins you could hope to get on a 40-foot boat. In distilling all that's good in the MY44 and putting it into the MY40, I think Fountaine Pajot onto a real winner here, because not only has it got all those power cat traits of all the size and that fantastic owner's cabin, but because it's designed from the bottom up to take IPS, it's a really easy boat to handle, not only out at sea, but more importantly here in the marina, and that's what scares a lot of people about power catamarans. It's how you handle them, but the joystick takes all the pain out of that.